Griffin, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I've been looking forward to this conversation because, and we're going to get into this a little bit, but you are living a lifestyle that I'm a little envious of. I know you're not supposed to covet your neighbor, but we're going to get into that. But first, for guys that don't know who you are, tell us who you are, what you do. Give us your dad bio.
So just the quick down and dirty. My name's Griffin Coiner. I'm married to my high school sweetheart. We've actually been together since I was 16 and she was 15.
That's awesome.
We have an 8-year-old daughter and an almost 4-year-old boy. For the past 10 years, I worked for the fire department, and we started another. At the time, it was the side gig of making mustache wax and just a men's grooming company, which has kind of transformed into our full-time life. I'm sure we'll get into all that. But at the moment, with the family, we're just traveling around, doing homeschool, living life as a family, and running our business. So, yeah, it's been a crazy transition. We're having this conversation as we're kind of finally getting in the groove a little bit. Over the past couple months that have been a whirlwind. So
yeah, so let's just jump into it because I'm so curious about life in an RV. So you live full time in an RV.
Yes, sir.
As we're talking right now, where in the world are you, if you can say?
So our camper is a toy hauler. So I'm actually in the back garage part. So the family's all locked away up front, or maybe I'm locked away in the back. I don't know. But they're all up there and I'm back here. We got this little setup. So
geographically speaking, where are you guys at?
We're in Utah right now. We just came to check out Moab and do some off-roading and exploring. We went and did Arches National Park yesterday.
Yeah.
That was incredible. So we just went up there and the kids did awesome on that hike. They're little champions. So there was a few hard moments.
Sure.
I mean, any kid, like, this is hard, I don't like it, but there's some good teaching moments in there. Hey, without the climb, you don't get the view. So
absolutely. And they're old enough, they can get out there and get after it a little bit.
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
The younger one, but
yeah, no, they slept good last night, so it was good.
So how do you pick where you're going? You just throw a dart on the wall, or do you have a plan in mind?
We have a couple spots that, hey, we kind of need to be in this area at this time for different events or to meet up with different families and stuff. But for the most part, it's kind of just, hey, where do you want to go next? What do you want to do now? This place looks cool. Why not?
That is so awesome. That is so awesome.
With this, obviously, is some freedom. Which is good and bad because we still have a business to run. I still need to get supplies. I still need to be close to post offices or shipping centers or stuff like that. And I still make all the product and I still do all that. So there's a lot of freedom as long as we keep it under control, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I imagine it takes quite a bit of forethought to plan out where you're going to be so you can get your shipments.
Right.
You can let the suppliers know where you're
right.
going to pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like a logistical nightmare, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's worth it, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. Like stuff like yesterday. Hey, we knew that we traveled the days before. Yesterday was kind of our recover adventure day, and then today it's back to work for a couple days and get everything squared away before we decide what we want to do next.
So when you set up camp, how long do you typically stay in one spot, or are you constantly moving?
It just depends really on where we are. At first, like I said, we're just a couple months into this. At first it's like, hey, let's go here for a day. Let's go here for a day. Let's go here. But that's just a nightmare setting up and tearing down. So I think to make it worth it and to get supplies and to be able to get established and get homeschool done and get everything done, at least a week or two
before
we decide, hey, let's go somewhere else.
So at the time of this recording, you guys have only been living this lifestyle for a couple months. Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
Okay. So you definitely are still figuring it out.
Yeah. I mean, we've learned a lot of lessons the very hard way, very fast.
I would imagine.
Like you think about it, it's like, how hard can it be? It's everything I have within 40 feet of me in this 40-foot trailer. I mean, how hard could it be? But there's just a lot of lessons, a lot of things you don't think about. But it forces you to be very efficient. It forces you to think ahead and be like, all right, well, if I'm going to do this, I got to plan a few steps ahead. From everything from having enough water to hey, there's 4 people within 40 feet of each other, plus 2 dogs all the time. So, I mean, it's crowded, but I mean, it's awesome. So,
that raises a good point. I think every guy as the leader of their home should take the lead when it comes to preparing for worst case scenarios or just life in general. And you touched on the fact of being prepared.
Yeah.
It just kind of takes that idea to a whole nother level.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously carrying all of our stuff around. And obviously we have the truck, the kids, the car, the toys, the work stuff, the everything. Obviously the trailer holds water, and we have a generator and all that kinds of stuff. Obviously the world's changed a lot the past couple of years, and at any moment, like we were talking about this the other day, I have some other people that have traveled or had campers or whatever. Man, I never pull my camper full of water. It's just too hard on it. It's just too much weight, blah, blah, blah. I was like, man, I think it's silly to not have water with you. And if any moment you had to just disappear, now I'm not living some doomsday mindset. I'm not scared that a bomb's going to fall. Oh man, I better disappear quick. But at any moment we could get a flat tire and be stuck on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere for 2 days. And if I don't have water and food and all that, I'm out of luck. So the way I see it, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Absolutely. And, I hate to dwell on worst case scenarios, but with the situation of gas and oil right now, you'd find yourselves, potentially stranded for a certain amount of time. So you got to be prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's always nice if you're driving down the road and there's nowhere to stop, you got your own bathroom with you at any time. Right. So it's a win-win.
This podcast is part of the EDIFY Podcast Network. EDIFY is a faith-inspiring app that brings together thousands of the best Christian podcasts in one place for your listening enjoyment. Cut through the noise and grow your faith by diving into the world's top Christian podcasts today. Download the EDIFY app for free from the App Store or Google Play, or by going to edify.app. That's EDIFY.app.
Well, I could talk about this for probably hours, because again, it's I'm very intrigued about it. My wife and I have always talked about, when we retire, or maybe even once the kids are gone, because we've got one left in the house. He's 13.
Yeah.
And she and I we both work from home. So there's no reason why we couldn't do what you're doing.
Right.
But it's just a pipe dream right now. But it's fun to talk to somebody who's made it a reality.
Yeah.
But I want to circle back to your story, because it's interesting. So let's pick it up with the career that you left. You were a fireman. And I know that in many larger communities, it's difficult to get on to the fire department. Like the bar is set pretty high, and there's oftentimes a waiting list, so to speak. So the fact that you made it onto a crew and this was kind of your dream job. What led you to the point where you were like, it's time for me to step away?
A lot of big prayers, to be honest. If you would have asked me a year ago or 2 years ago or 4 years ago when we started our business, like, hey, just so you know, you're going to be leaving the fire department and you're going to go live in a camper and you're going to go travel around, I would have said, you're crazy. No, thank you. As far as I had it in my head, I was living the life, I'm a fireman. I got a smoking hot wife. I got 2 awesome kids. I got a lifted truck. I like going off-roading. Like by the world standards, I was doing it, And like you said, it's a hard job to get. It's a noble career. I didn't leave there with any animosity of like, oh man, it's not a good job, or there's bad people there or something like that. Basically, I just prayed a lot of big prayers. So leading up to that, for our business, the way it started, Stash Salt. So how it started, it kind of started by accident, to be honest. I kind of just made some stuff for myself for fun, made some mustache wax and different stuff just for fun, just to see if I could do it.
And for those just listening, Griffin's got a beautiful handlebar mustache, so he needed his product out of necessity.
Yeah. So it kind of started just like I'm just gonna see if I can do it. And I made some, and people went, hey, how do I buy it? So I was like, oh man, I wasn't ready for that. So I told my wife, I said, hey, I need a logo. So I said, I need a skull, a mustache, and a fire helmet. So she came up with the logo, and obviously there's Sorry.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Right, but she came up with the logo. And with that, I wasn't trying to start a business. I didn't sit down with like this grand old plan of, all right, I'm going to sell this many tins for this much. And it just didn't happen that way. I played catch up for a long time. But my old chief where I used to work got diagnosed with cancer. And I know that his family was struggling with the bills. So I was like, well, I wasn't trying to start this business. And we started getting some momentum. I was like, well, let's just use this to give back to his family.
Wow.
So we set aside a part of every sale and we went to their Christmas banquet and did a whole big, hey, we're just here for you just because we can. No obligation, no, hey, I have to give X amount every month or anything like that. It was just, hey, I knew he was struggling and that's what we wanted to do. So
that's cool. So, I mean, really the business was launched out of the spirit of servanthood.
Right. So, and that's where our one of our mottos is spread the salt. So, and my other one, stay salty, my friends. It's all Matthew 5:13, being the salt and light. Yeah. And so that's our mission, is to spread the salt and just be God's hands and feet, be the salt and light. Obviously, the world's very dark. There's a lot of bad things going, but within my reach, I can be the salt and light. I can't fix every problem, but if there's someone within my reach, that's what I'm going for.
And really, that's what it's all about. You and I can't fix the world, but we can start working on our circles of influence.
Absolutely.
And those people can then in turn do the same. And that's how you make real change. So I love what your brand stands for. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. So basically, fast forward 4 years, the business has been growing, and I actually started over at a new fire department, and I was working for one of the biggest departments in the country, and everything was great. Business is going good. I have a great schedule and all that kinds of stuff. And I prayed a lot of big prayers of, God, if you want this business to keep growing, I want it to be explainable in only a way that you made it happen. I don't want it to be something that I did. I don't want it to be something like, wow, look how hard he worked and made this happen. It was basically just praying, hey, God, if you want this to happen, make it that it's only possible by your hand.
Hey, before we get too much further, I got to ask, leading up to this point in the story, this was something that you felt that God put on your heart and you'd been praying prayers. Was your wife in lockstep, or did you have to convince her? Did she know that this was kind of stewing in the back of your mind?
So her job since we started this has been her full-time job. So she does all the internet, she does all the website and all that kinds of parts. She does all the logos, all the graphics and everything. So she was already fully in on this as far as time. For me, it was, all right, I'd go to the fire station for a day and I'd come home and work on it for 2 days, then leave for a day, then come home. And but for her, the wheel never stopped spinning. She was always there doing it, taking care of the ship while the captain was gone, basically. Or maybe she's the captain, I don't know. But
let's be honest, she probably.
Yeah. But it's something that we had talked about. With the fire schedule, we get a lot of days off and we would go camping all the time. So it was always kind of a thought in our head of like, man, that would be so cool someday just to go camping and travel around and do all that stuff. So the seed was already planted in both of our heads.
Yeah. So, and she had skin in the game, so it probably wasn't a real hard sell at that point.
So for her mindset was, I would love to do this full time together, but I would never ask you to leave the fire department.
Oh, wow.
That's what she said. It's like, I would love to do this together and I would love this to be our life, but I know how hard it was to get with the fire department. I know, because I don't like bragging about it, but like I was all in on the fire department. Like I loved it. I loved the job.
Yeah.
I love forcing doors and searching floors and throwing ladders and fighting fire. I mean, it's fun. It's like it's a super cool job. It's a very, like I said, it's a very noble job. It's a very noble career. It's a great community of people that want to help others. So the fire department itself is a great thing.
I heard recently somebody describe the fire department in general as like the cool uncle. Like when there's an emergency, when the cops show up, it's like dad's here.
Yeah.
And when the paramedics show up, it's like mom's here. But when the firemen show up, it's like, oh, the cool uncles are here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's true for whatever, I mean, not for whatever reason, you show up in the biggest trucks and everything about it is cool. Yeah. Nobody ever calls you when something good happens.
Yeah.
They never call you to say, look at this smart thing I did. It's always like something bad happened and, oh, I made this mistake, or this was really dumb, and now I need somebody to come fix it. Anyway, side note. But basically we got to the point where I was praying that big prayer of like, hey, if this is something that's going to keep growing, I never planned on leaving the fire department. I was like, man, I got my dream job, and I got a sweet side gig that we're able to make a little bit of money, and we're able to give, and we're able to have a little bit of freedom. But it was never my plan to live off of that.
Yeah.
My plan was to use that just to, like I said, spread the salt and help where we can and all that. But with that prayer of God, make this possible only by your hand. Obviously the world has changed a little bit the past couple of years, and the fire department has changed, and rules started changing. And I knew all the Corona stuff or COVID stuff. I knew all the jabs or all the vaccine stuff. I knew all that was like my line in the sand of, hey, I'm not going to play this game. That's something it's a road I'm not willing to go down. I'm not willing to even entertain it. What somebody else does is completely up to them. I have no judgment, but the second you try to force somebody else to do something, I'm out. So basically my fire department got to the point where they said, hey, you're going to do this. So it got to daily nose testing.
Oh, wow.
So it didn't matter if you already had your jab or not. It didn't matter anything. It just said, hey, you do this now or else. So it just didn't make sense. I printed out all the information of the EPA and OSHA and all this and this. First of all, the tests are expired, and I'm looking up this stuff. It says, do not expose yourself to this, will cause cancer. Stay away from this. Do not expose yourself. Not good for you. Like, stay away from at all costs. And I just said, what are we doing? We're giving ourselves brain cancer to know if we have the sniffles or not. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So basically it came to the point where I got sent home without pay for refusing, and praying all these things and knowing that was my line in the sand. I got sent home, and that was kind of an answer to the prayer of, hey, you're going all in on the business. You're going all in on Stash Salt. You can stay here and you can keep playing this game if you want. Like, nobody's going to force you to leave unless, like, if I'm willing to play the game. But I knew that wasn't something I was willing to do or lie about or anything. So that was kind of the line in the sand of, hey, here we go.
Yeah, well, you kind of answered my next question, because I was curious, if you're praying this big prayer, and I know the tipping point looks different for everybody because there's lots of factors that are unique to the individual. But for you, like you just said, it was pretty obvious when it was time.
Yeah.
And so you made the leap, and I would imagine that involved not just stepping away from the force, but selling your house and all of the the logistics involved in picking up the family and, buying an RV and a truck and all the things that you need to hit the road.
So with that was just answers to more prayers that I guess basically we didn't even know we were praying yet. My house wasn't even for sale. While all this was going on, we're trying to figure out, all right, what are we going to do? How's this going to work? We were visiting my brother in Colorado, and we were actually up on some land up there that just, like, we were up in the mountains, the middle of nowhere. We didn't have service for days. It was awesome. Yeah. No phones, nothing. And we're standing just there on this lot, just looking this valley. And my phone goes off from a realtor friend of mine. And it goes, hey, do you want to sell your house? So, like, my house wasn't for sale. I didn't have it listed somewhere. It wasn't like a maybe. It was just, hey, do you want to sell your house? I said, well, I'm out of town right now. If they want to go look at it, they can. So they went and looked and made us an offer. And I was like, I don't think that quite makes it worth it. I don't know if that's going to make sense. So I kind of just forgot about it for a week or so. And then they came back and like, hey, well, we'll give you this much. I said, okay, I guess we're selling our house. So it wasn't even for sale. We weren't pursuing trying to sell it. And it was just another one of those like, hey, here's what you're doing. And back to the going out finding the camper and all that stuff. Like I said, we'd gone camping all the time. And we kind of had it in our head that this one that we actually found oh man, if we could do it, that would be the one to find. Mm-hmm. But every time we've gone to look, this one's a unicorn apparently. And they're like, oh, like, you just missed it. You can never find this one. Like, oh, there's one in Ohio. You call, like, oh, we just sold it. Like, this one's impossible to find for whatever reason. And the second we sold our house, this one was actually at a place an hour and a half from where we lived. And we call it, hey, do you have that one? Yeah. I was like, all right, well, I'm coming to get it right now. So just how all the pieces worked out of stuff that I couldn't have planned or put together. Like,
right, 100%.
Like it was so clearly God moving that, like, I was like, what can I do here? You've got it figured out, God. All I got to do is take the steps.
Do you think that if you hadn't been praying about all of this the whole time, that you would have recognized those pieces being put in place for you? Does that make sense? Yeah, no. I grew up in church, and I was a Christian for a long time. I do quotes because I call myself, I was a Sunday Christian for a long time. Yeah. I went to church on Sunday, and I know all the songs, and I know all the Bible stories and everything. And yes, Jesus came into my heart, but I wasn't living it, you know. Like, I was just a Sunday Christian. I got my checkpoints for the week. I still drank. I still do all that. I wouldn't say I was like a crazy drinker or anything, but I truly believe that was a huge chain on my life. And my wife and I, we both did 75 hard, I guess probably about 2 years ago now. Right on. And part of that program is no alcohol. So along with the 2 workouts a day and the gallon of water and all that stuff, part of it was the no alcohol. And I really feel like that was a huge timestamp in my life of when I stopped drinking, and really started pursuing God and reading and understanding. And when all that kind of came to head at the same time of, hey, I'm all in now. Like, it's not just for fun. Once I had a clear head and that chain was no longer there, God really started to move and speak and made things very, very clear. Yeah, because he got you where you needed to be, where he wanted you to be.
Yeah.
I would imagine that there's a lot of power in that. Clarity.
Yeah. And like he said, like, if this was 4 years ago, no, I wouldn't have been ready. If someone said, hey, go leave the fire department and live in a camper, I would have said no. Like, I have the best job, I have all these things, but it took each step along the way to prepare me to be ready to be in that spot to say, all right, now God says go. If I wasn't taking one step along the way, then I wouldn't have been in the right position.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I look back at the last 2 years of us, you know, the world living in this COVID era. And I think if you're going to point out any silver lining, it's the fact that I think a lot of people gained a lot of clarity or a deeper understanding of what really matters in life.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that's true for you too, but do you feel like your new lifestyle has helped you sort of adjust your focus to what really matters?
Yeah. I'd say I've always had just a strong desire just to be a family unit. I recognize the destruction of not just in our country, but in the world of broken homes. I came from a broken home. My wife came from a broken home. I know what that pain is. I know what that looks like growing up in just whatever the situation may be. There's a billion different situations. I've run all the calls at the fire department. I've seen the hurts, and knowing who Christ is and knowing that he designed us to operate as a family. That was always something that I really, really wanted, and something that I desired, and something that I value. So going to this unique lifestyle was something that was very natural. It was like, man, all I want to do is hang out with those are my 3 humans, you know, like those are my 3. Yeah. Like I love a lot of people, but those 3 are mine. And those are the ones I want to invest in. Those are the ones I want to spend my time with. And then from there we can go out and spread the salt and do our thing. But we gotta start it here, and then from here we can go out. So
well, and you're setting such an example for your kids. They're watching you walk the walk. And, you know, I'm going to try not to choke up because I think back on raising my kids at the time goes by so fast. Yeah. And your kids are going to be grown and gone before you know it. And you're going to look back on these years, and they're going to be the best years of your life. And so who knows where you're going to be, you know, once the kids are grown and gone, maybe you continue this lifestyle, maybe you you know, settle down someplace, but you're always going to be able to look back at this time and you won't have a single regret. Yeah, there's going to be hiccups along the way. There's going to be challenges, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But you will never regret making this leap of faith. I'm confident in that, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you stay with all of the, you know, the planning and the logistics of running your business on the road and raising a family on the road and schooling them? It's a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
How do you stay mission minded through all of that?
Knowing that that's why we're doing what we're doing. That's a huge part of it. We actually were discussing, obviously we get a lot of windshield time. So it's a lot of brainstorming and a lot of talking, and obviously we're all within 40 feet of each other all the time. So we all are on the same page almost all the time. I'm not going to lie and say that we've got it all figured out. Everything is happy and sunshine and bunny rabbits all the time. No, we're a regular family and people get heated, but we all know why we're doing what we're doing. And we're using this as an opportunity to go around and visit different families. We kind of wanted to, instead of just, hey, I saw that there was a need online and send a check and, hey, prayers and wishes and never hear from someone again. We wanted to actually go and visit some of the people and invest in them and do it as a family of like, hey, we actually want to put our arms around you and say, hey, we're here for you. We know you got something going on. We know it's tough. And I don't know, there's just so much more to it, I guess, than just, hey, let me send you a check and move on to who's next.
Yeah.
So doing it as a family, it's, I don't know, I don't want to say it makes it unbreakable, but I mean, it really just strengthens it, knowing we all know why we're doing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's powerful. And again, what an example for your kids.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing, I get so tired of social media in general, but you know, if there's a tragedy in somebody's life, you know, you just read through the comments, thoughts and prayers, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of positive emojis, and then that's it. But you're taking it to the whole, I mean, you're just keeping it real. It's like more authentic.
That's just what we're called to do. Like I said, like I can't change the whole world. There's so much bad stuff, and anybody who spends 3 minutes on their phone can get pissed off looking at all the bad stuff going on. And man, I just had enough. And I can't change everything, but if I can come alongside one person and we make that one difference, then that's a win. that's more important than a check sent somewhere or thoughts and prayers, Facebook emoji, whatever. It's like, man.
How do you find these families? Are they all involved with the fire departments around the country, or how do you find them?
Mostly that's the way we've done it. Like we said, obviously my role has changed from riding the fire truck to now being in this different role, but we wanted to keep the missions the same of helping first responder families battling cancer bills or medical bills. So we have different people that, I don't want to say like nominate people, but like, hey, I know this family is struggling over here. Or if we see a headline, hey, this person passed away or this person got cancer or something like that. So we're just keeping our eyes open for different needs, really.
Yeah.
Obviously it's easy to get in a place as like comparing to what other people give. And I know we're not supposed to do that, but like, oh man, I wish I could give as much as so-and-so, or this company over here gives X amount. I'm really just trying to stay in our lane and, hey, we're doing what we can with what we have. It may not be a ton, but it's more than nothing. It's I guess, like the parable of the old widow giving the 2 coins versus the dudes giving sacks of cash. You know, it's just, I'm trying to stay with that mindset of not comparing myself to what somebody else is doing. We're doing what we can with what we have. Yep. And if there's a need, I just want to step in that gap. So my role has changed from riding the fire truck to now my role is to help the helpers. So to help the families of the first responders or something like that. So if it's awesome. Family or someone, so.
That's awesome. Yeah. God bless you, man. Okay. So this is a big question. Reflect back on all the life changes that you've made and the path that you're on now. What have you learned about yourself through all this?
You can do more than you think you can. It's very intimidating just to be like, all right, I'm going to completely unplug from all what's normal and go out and just do our own thing. Just knowing that you're doing it and it's what you're supposed to do is a huge confidence builder. But I guess I've just learned to adapt and overcome and not be so rigid about things. You can't just have your feet in the cement. You got to be, literally walking on water, ready to take a step this way or that way, wherever the wave may be. I don't know. I guess that's a huge thing, is just learning to adapt, learning that I'm not in control. I think that was a huge thing God broke me of, as obviously firefighter, first responder. That was a huge part of my identity. I was like,
Absolutely.
man, I'm with the fire department, and I'm one of the brothers. I'm in the club. So he really wanted to break me of identifying as anything other than his child. So, like, I'm not a fireman. I'm not this guy that goes and rides this cool truck. I'm not the guy with the camper. Like, I'm the son of God, or I'm a son of Christ. And like, that's what I'm supposed to identify as. I'm supposed to identify as a Christ follower, not any of these other things that we put labels on. Like, obviously I'm the stash salt guy and I'm the mustache guy or whatever, but more important than that is I'm a follower of Christ, and as long as I'm doing what he's asking me to be doing, then I'll be all right. That doesn't mean that hard times aren't going to come. That doesn't mean bad days aren't here, but at least, like, you always hear, oh man, there's the unspeakable peace, or there's the peace that passes understanding. And you hear all that, and yeah, it sounds good, but I never truly lived it until I've been walking all these steps. Like, everything that we've done the past 6 months to outsiders is probably insane. Like, like, you did what? You left what job? You left what house? You left what area? And you're doing what? But like, because I know it's exactly what we're supposed to do, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, man, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, so I got peace about it.
Well, and I would imagine that it's a lot easier to get up in the morning and get after it, get to work, knowing that you're fulfilling your purpose, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that was one of the things that intrigued me about your story so much, is that I think a big problem in society when it comes to men is we pin a lot of our identity to our careers, to our job titles.
Yeah.
And, things happen. You could lose your job. You could get laid off for whatever reason. Your role could change as the company grows. It's just all these things that are going to impact your job.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Not a matter of if, but when. And if that's where your identity comes from, you're in a lot of trouble. And I've been guilty of it myself. So I think it's an important message that more guys need to hear and understand, that there's more to life than your job title. And like you said, you're first and foremost a child of God, and everything comes after that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I struggled with it. I'm not going to lie and just say like, oh man, that was super easy. I'm not a fireman anymore, and I'm super happy about it. Like, no, that wasn't the case. Like, it was something I worked real hard for a decade. I mean, I loved the job. I was really good at it. I was very passionate about it. When I was there, I was all in. And obviously, we've built this brand around first responders and firemen and community and brotherhood and all that kinds of stuff. So to change my role and be like, but I'm not on the truck anymore, but I still want you to like think what I'm doing is right. Like, to the outside people, it's like, oh man, he's just making money now, forgot about the job or whatever. It's like, that's just not the case, but it's not my job to worry about what other people are thinking. So I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and the peace that comes with that, I mean, that wins.
For sure. Well, I know that, coming out of this era of COVID, like we've talked about, a lot of people have realized or been reminded of what's important in life, and maybe their aspirations have changed, and maybe they want to take a similar leap of faith. They don't know how, or they don't trust themselves to make the decision, whatever the case may be. What advice do you have for people like that, who find themselves in that situation where they feel like they want to, it's in their heart, but they can't, or they don't know how, or they're afraid, whatever the case may be? What advice do you have?
I think if it's something that you truly know you're supposed to do, and it's obviously going to be a big change, or it might even be a little change. But if you know that that's what you're supposed to do, at some point you're just going to have to go for it. There's never going to be a perfect time. There's never going to be like, because in my head, I never planned on leaving. I was never like, all right, well, if I have X amount of dollars in the bank, then I'll be secure enough to go. It was just like, hey, that wasn't even an option. But once God, I guess, made it very clear, then I was like, all right, well, that's what we're doing. But I guess if you know that that's what you're supposed to do, at some point, you're just going to have to go for it. You're going to have to take that first step onto the water. You're going to have to take that step out of the boat. And if you know it's what you're supposed to be doing, you're going to be fine walking on the water. Or, I mean, I guess another analogy, like what I said to myself is I literally jumped out of a plane with no parachute. Like there was no backup plan. There was no safety net. There was nothing. It was like, I'm going for it. Here we go.
Catch me, God. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sink or swim, fly or die, I guess. But there was literally no backup or like just in case. It was, here we go. Like I said, like I prayed, God, if this is what you want, then it has to be explainable only by your hand.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of scary things and there's a million reasons to not do anything. At some point, you just got to say, I'm doing it and go for it. There doesn't always have to be a 10-step plan that's perfectly lined out. At some point, you just got to go for it.
Yeah. And to use the walking on water analogy, I think that I don't want to put words in your mouth, but at least from my own experiences, it's not a once and done leap of faith. It's like once you take that first step, you have to continually put your trust in God almost daily, because there's going to be battles. There's going to be challenges that are going to lead you to question your decision.
Absolutely.
And maybe, run back to where you came from. But it's like you have to continually pray, continually trust God.
Yeah, everything is one step at a time. Like your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Back in those times, when they were traveling at night, they would actually tie candles to their sandals. So it was literally only enough light to see their next step. So like just your one next step is just enough light to not step off a cliff or twist your ankle or whatever it may be. So it's kind of that same mentality. Like you can pray all these prayers and God will give you, all right, I need you to head this direction. But he's not, maybe it hasn't happened to me. Maybe it happened to somebody else, but he hasn't given me the 20-year plan of what this is going to look like. He's given me, all right, I need you to take this one step. And after that step, we'll take the next one. And after that one, we'll take one. But you don't get to know 40 steps ahead. You get just enough light and just enough faith and just enough everything for that one next one.
Yeah. And that's scary when you can't see the path.
Yeah.
You can only see maybe the first couple steps, but the more steps you take and the more you can see God at work in those steps, then that builds your faith. And then it becomes a little easier and a little easier to take those steps. And pretty soon those steps can become, leaps, and you're going to trust that it's going to work out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, man, I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit more about Stash Salt before I let you go, because I know you do, you make more than just mustache wax. So give us kind of an overview of everything that you've got going on the Stash Salt side of things.
Yeah. So like I said, it started out with just mustache wax, just kind of for fun. I did just mustache wax for a year or so. And then I was like, well, shoot, clearly not everybody has a mustache. There's lots of people with beards, lots of people clean shaven, lots of people with hair, whatever. So I do beard oil, beard balm. I do shave soap with the old school Badger hair shave brush. I've got hair pomade. We've got body soap and obviously hats and shirts and all the different cool stuff. But I want it to be just like a full men's grooming company with a mission to give back. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. Obviously Stash is in the name, so that's kind of our strong point. I make really good mustache wax. I'll just say it. I make the best mustache wax there is.
Just put it out there. Go for it.
I mean, it's clearly the best. So
well, I love it, man. It's a great mission, and even myself with very little hair left on my head, I could probably benefit from what you got. We talk about legacy a lot on this show, and lots of things come to mind when people talk about legacy, but if you were to leave an inspired legacy, what does that mean to you?
I guess just inspiring other people to reach who they can, instead of, I guess, just, there's so much need that I don't even know where to start. Hey, everybody has a neighbor, everybody sees someone walking down the street, everybody can help somewhere. So I guess people taking the steps of faith of like, hey, well, I can help in some way. So I don't know, like I said, the world's very dark and there's a lot of bad going on. But if one person can just help one person that can help another person, I mean, you can only make it as much of a difference as you're willing to take those steps. So I would love to see more people willing to be uncomfortable in order to help.
That's, yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that want to help but aren't willing to get uncomfortable. I'll put my money in the tithe box at church because it's helping a mission overseas, but I won't actually go talk to my neighbor. I want to see more people engaging and growing community. So,
amen, man. That's a powerful reminder right there. Service requires a little discomfort sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, man, where can people find you online and learn more about Stash Salt?
StashSalt.com has all the goodies, a little bit of everything on there. Obviously, we're on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all that at Stash Salt. If you are interested in seeing me, I'm that Stash guy on Instagram. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But we're on there as far as Stash Salt is. It's on all the platforms. So
right on. Well, we will link to all of that stuff in the show notes. Guys listening and watching, check it out. Everybody's got some hair that they need to take care of. So
yeah, you got some hair somewhere, whether you want it or not, but we'll get it fixed up.
Give them some business because they're doing some great work behind the scenes. Griffin, I want to thank you for your time, man. This has been a lot of fun, and safe travels.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Guys, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's conversation, share it with a friend and subscribe to the show so you don't miss future episodes like the one you heard today. And be sure to check today's show notes for all the ways you can stay plugged into the Inspired Legacy, including my free download called 9 Ways to Be a Better Dad. You can sign up for my free weekly devotional called Inspired Inbox. And you can join the private Facebook group, a community of other like-minded men looking to become the best husbands and fathers they can be. So get plugged in. Like, subscribe, leave a review, and help more guys find the show because we need more men battling together for the sake of the next generation. Until next time, live inspired.